Hey everybody, welcome back to another action figure review, G.I.Joe Classified Edition. And today we're going to be looking at the Python Patrol Cobra Trooper. And I know what you're thinking, it says officer right there. But Classified has already released a Cobra officer. And that was done on the actual officer's design, typical design. And this is done more on the trooper's typical design, although they gave him the officer's loadout as well as the officer's vest overlay rather than the trooper's more armored one. First, a little background on this mess up. See, back in 1989, when the Python Patrol was first released in the Real American Hero line, they accidentally swapped the trooper and the officer. Like they put the trooper on the officer's card back and vice versa by accident. And we know this was a mistake because they left the chevron on the officer's helmet. See, basically the 1989 Python Patrol Trooper was based on the Cobra Officer from 1982 and 83. It was based on that mold. And the Python Patrol Officer was based on the Trooper's mold. But we know they messed up the names because the Python Patrol Trooper had the chevron, the officer's rank insignia on his helmet still. So that should have been the officer. Another way we know that this was a mistake is because the catalogs that they released in like late 88, revealing these figures for the first time. Remember, this was the 80s. We didn't have the internet. So we got our information via catalogs, like from Sears or Toys R Us or basically anywhere that sold toys. They would usually release these holiday catalogs every year around Christmas time, so parents could see what to buy for their kids and what was to be expected for the next year or so. And in those catalogs, they had them listed properly as the officer with the chevron on the helmet and the trooper without the chevron, looking like this. But they must have already printed out the cards, and it was too late to change it. It would have cost them a lot of money, so they just went with it. And then when they re-released the Python Trooper and the Python Officer in 2000, what was it? Version 2 came out in 2008. They kept the incorrect names. Now, Classified looks like they were rectifying that because when they released the Python Patrol Officer, the first one, it was done in what was the Trooper's design from the 89 series, but they changed it to Officer, and because that's what he was. He has the helmet with the chevron on it. That means he's an officer. But then they released this one, and again they label it Officer. So now we have two different officers for Python Patrol that look completely different. When they revealed this figure, I think it was at San Diego Comic-Con, there was a question about it, and one of the team members, I can't remember if it was Lenny or John, said that it was a mistake on the slide, that this was supposed to be the trooper. But I guess they didn't know at the time that the boxes had already been made saying Cobra Officer. So again, they had to stick with it because it would have been too costly to scrap all these boxes and redo them. So that's why we ended up with two Cobra officers in the Python Patrol instead of an officer and a trooper. But I think this is a trooper because, and I'm going to bring his helmet in real quick, there's no rank insignia on his helmet. Now he does have this badge here, but there's no rank on it. It just has the Python Patrol logo as well as the Cobra emblem. So there's no real rank on it. Besides, the Cobra Island Trooper came with a rank insignia badge as well, because to designate him as like a sergeant. not an officer. But there is a lot of officer reuse here, as you can see from the gloves and the boots and the overlays. And of course, he has the officer's entire loadout. But this is clearly supposed to be the trooper, because like I said, he has no rank insignia. So in my collection, he will remain the trooper, and the one with the green striped shirt is going to be the officer. And we'll go over the officer in another video, probably a blast from the past, because he came out earlier. In fact, he was among the first three. I think with the Viper and the Bat that were first, and then he came out. Or it could have been the Viper and him that were first, and then the Bat. I'm not sure. Anyway. So yeah, that's the confusion with this figure. And I think a lot of people are going with the idea that this one is the trooper, mainly because of the lack of a rank insignia denoting him as an officer, which the other one does have. So that makes it easier to decide, you know what, that guy is the officer. Now, I don't know if the officer's helmet will fit on this figure. You could swap them if you wanted to, and wanted to make this one the officer, and then give this trooper to the other one. That's up to you, I guess. Although the other trooper we've gotten, or the other officer that we've gotten in the line so far, the one with the green shirt, doesn't really have any grays, so this would look kind of weird on him. His helmet is black, so that probably wouldn't work as well after all. Anyway, put him aside, take a look at the box. There isn't any Easter eggs that I could find in the product shot here. It just looks like standing in front of some ruins of some sort, but nothing that's identifiable from the comics or the cartoon or anything like that, at least from my perspective. You got the Python Patrol logo there, Cobra Officer, G.I.Joe Classified series. You got some nice artwork here. The ribbon with all the accessories. You got G.I.Joe Classified series at the top there. You got the same artwork in the blown up here on the side. This is number 97 in the line. There's a QR code. This file card info, which you can see in the larger scale on the back here. And of course, you got all this legalese as well. More legalese on the bottom. Interestingly enough, my trooper, I'm gonna call him Trooper. For the purpose of this video, I'm gonna call him the Trooper for the rest of the time, even though it says Officer. So my Trooper has this Hong Kong sticker on it, which came up with my Copperhead as well, which means these figures were sent to the distributor. I bought these from Hasbro Pulse UK, but apparently they came to Hasbro Pulse UK from Hong Kong, so they had this sticker on them, both of them. These are the only two figures I've gotten so far in this entire line, and I have over 100 that have come with a sticker on them, so that's interesting. Here's the officer. See, I'm still calling him an officer. Here's the trooper, 6.2 inches in height, and all the accessories it comes with, a close-up of his chest and of the Python Patrol badge he's got on his arm. And that's it for the box. Taking a look at the figure itself. As you can see, he's made up mostly of officer parts, I'm assuming. Again, I'm not a big parts guy. I think the legs, the upper arms, I think the gloves and the boots are the only thing that are really the officer. Everything else is the trooper, the original trooper. They did have a different torso for the officer, I believe, but they haven't used that since the original officer. And myself and a lot of other collectors have been wondering why they don't use that torso anymore. We're thinking something might have happened to the mold, they weren't able to reuse it, so they had to go back to using the trooper upper body. But in any case, we do still have the officer's gloves and boots, as you can see. So even though this is the trooper, he is dressed in officer gloves and officer boots. He also has the officer's harness, as well as the officer's belt and knife sheath. Those are those are the 3 overlay pieces, and this one's the 4th overlay piece. This is a similar rank. Well, it's not really a rank insignia because there is no rank on it. It's just the Cobra logo and the Python Patrol logo. This is similar to the one that came with the Cobra Island Trooper, as well as his Fire Team 7AA officer. So they have gotten some good reuse out of it. I like this because you can use it, especially with the Cobra Trooper from the Cobra Island. You can use it to donate squad leaders or sergeants, because there's not a chevron on it, so it's not a rank insignia. So the officer gets the rank insignia, the V, basically, donating his rank, and then the troopers don't have that, so that helps to tell them apart, basically. So as you can see, he's mostly black and gray. Not a lot of Pythonization on here. You only really get it on the shoulder straps and on the knee pads. It looks like he killed a couple of turtles and just slapped their shells on his knees, kind of, the way those knee pads look. But yeah, other than that, there's nothing that really screams Python Patrol about this guy. Like, if you pulled the harness off and painted over the knee pads, you'd just have a completely different trooper if you wanted. Real quick, I'm going to go over the 2 head sculpts. He comes with 2. Now, out of the box, he comes with this one. The reason I have it swapped now is because I had a hard time getting the head off, because the neck kept popping off entirely with it. So I decided just to stick the light skin head on for the review and show the dark skinned head separately, because there are 2 things. The dark skin head is a little bit wider than the light skin head, and so the helmet doesn't fit as well on the dark skin head, and neither do the goggle accessories. So that's why I kept the light skin head on the body for the review, so I can show the helmet and the goggles better. But I don't know if it's just mine, but I mean, you can even tell it's not a huge difference, but it does, to me, it looks pretty obvious that the dark skinned head is slightly wider than the light skinned head. But you do get 2 head portraits, and as you can see, they're essentially the same. The side, what do I want to say? The design on the side is a little bit bigger on the light skinned head, and the light skinned head looks to be wearing a more modernized mask, while the dark skinned head is wearing a cloth mask. But other than that, they're pretty much similar. They also looks like they have slightly different looks. Like the light skinned head's got his eyebrows more narrowed, and the dark skinned head's looks a little less severe, I guess. But in any case, you get 2 different head portraits, so that aids in troop building, because now you can have like a dozen of these guys, and at least half of them will look different from the other half, so it won't be like you cut 12 identical guys. But like I said, since his head is wider, the helmet, you might have trouble with the helmet, so I won't be bringing that head up again when I'm going over the accessories, so consider that the accessory description of the alternate head. But going over articulation now. See what I mean? The neck keeps popping out here. I don't know how that got so loose. But he can look down about that far. And he can look all the way up, so that's good. He can do the exorcist. And because the neck peg is so loose, he's got a lot of tilt there. I wouldn't worry about your neck peg being loose if you buy this figure yourself. I'm pretty sure I did something to it to get it that loose. So I don't think it's something you're going to have to worry about being a standard issue. He can hinge his arm up quite a bit higher than 90 degrees. Of course, it goes all the way around. He does have butterfly joints in there. Yeah, excuse me. He's got a bicep cut. He's got double jointed pinned arms. Of course, this is on the Trooper Buck, so they're still using the pins. He's got the horizontal hinge on his right wrist and vertical on the left. I haven't had a time to or a chance to work those out yet, so can't really show off the range. Because he's using the officer's vest instead of the trooper's torso armor, essentially, he gets better articulation out of that ab crunch, so he can go forward that far, and he can go back pretty far there. He's pretty flexible, this guy. Although I don't know if that would break his back in real life. He can twist at the waist, and he's got the tilt. He's got all the tilt. Standard drop-down hips for classified, so you can get the Van Damme splits with this guy. You can kick out fairly high. You can kick back about that far. He's got the thigh cut. He's got double jointed pinned knees. He's got the boot cut. Yeah, foot goes back about that far. Goes forward about that far. You've got rocker there and peg holes on the bottom for stands of some sort. Okay, that leg doesn't want to go back. Come on, do what you're told. Like an obedient lackey. Alright. Now, the rest of the accessories, I've already showed off the helmet. It's got the dark gray stripe around the back, and that dark gray little icon on the front there. Otherwise, it's a mostly light gray helmet. And that snaps on pretty well. Goes down all the way. He also comes with the same goggles that came with the Cobra Island Trooper. Of course, they're painted more differently for the Python Patrol. These have little red slits on the front, like snake eyes, so that's kind of cool. And I mean the actual eyes of a snake, not the character snake eyes. Just so we're clear on that. And you can stick those over his face. And while he's wearing those, you can't really see any skin, so... So that's another thing you can do. If you get multiples of these guys, you can, if you could get like a dozen of these guys, you can have like 3 using the pale light skin head, 3 using the dark skin head, and then 6 using these goggles. So it looks like you have an entirely different group of guys. So he also has the officer's dagger, which is a nice painted blade there, and it's red hilt instead of black like the previous one. That slides into his sheath right there. He comes with the officer's Mauser pistol, which does have a slot in the front for blast effects if you want. Standard pistol for Cobra officers. They gave it to this trooper. Now the first Cobra officer they released for Python Patrol had these exact same accessories. So yeah, they gave both of these guys the officer's loadout, adding to the confusion over which is the officer, if they're both the officers. But like I said, I'm starting to sound like a broken record here, I'm sure, but because this guy doesn't have any rank insignia, I just assume that he is not the officer. He also comes with this, which is the officer's gun holster that goes on his back. Now, he doesn't come with any of the trooper stuff except for this and the helmet and the goggles. So the only 3 parts that came with a trooper before. They came with a Cobra Island trooper. Otherwise, he has all the officer's gear. And he has the officer's AK. As you can see, it has a removable magazine. It snaps in there. And it has this laser sight, which slides in the top there. I might have it backwards. Yeah, I did. There we go. And this has a port in the barrel for blast effects as well. And this is just like the other gun, the other AKs that we've seen, except it's got a little green on the handle there. I think the original officer's one may have had some brown on this stock here, or I honestly can't remember. But yeah. So, and you can take, of course, you can take that stuff off. Obviously, you know that since you just saw me put it on. And the AK can slide into the gun holster like so. And then you can stick the extra ammo clip in his belt there. The laser sight goes in the belt pouch here. And lastly, he comes with this submachine gun based on the British Sten, which I have mentioned before. And that slides in like so. And get his hand in here. I feel like I just did this, which I did because I did the Cobra Officer. I did the Cobra Officer review not that long ago. So it's still pretty fresh on my mind. And there we have the Python Patrol Trooper. Not officer, trooper. No rank insignia means not the officer. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. Is this guy your trooper, or is he your officer? Or are you going to have both of them be troopers, or are you going to have both of them be officers? Either way, choose your own Python Patrol adventure. And with the different head sculpts, you can have one be the officer and the rest be troopers if you wanted to. I'm not sure, again, I'm not sure if you can swap the helmets. Even if you did, because the other officer one is black, it might not look as good. Especially if you put the gray one on him, because that'll be the only gray he's wearing. Everything else is either green or black or yellow on him. So I don't know if it'll look right, but it is what it is. And they haven't even addressed the issue yet about the names. I don't know if anyone's asked them in any interviews, but as I said at San Diego when they announced the figure, they did say that the slide was inaccurate because the slide said Cobra Officer, and someone in the crowd was like, "Didn't we already get one of these?" And they were like, "Yeah, that's a mistake." So we were led to believe that this was supposed to be the trooper, but then the box came out and says officer again. So, and they haven't addressed it since. I'm guessing with another mess up. So, par for the course for Hasbro regarding these figures, because they messed up once back in 1989, and then they messed up again in 2020, whatever. I mean, now, yeah, it's 2024 now. I can't remember when the first officer came out. I think it was 2022. It might have been 2021 now. But in any case, they messed up again. So now we've got 2 Cobra officers on packages in our Python Patrol collection instead of an officer and a trooper. So let me know what you think. Comment down below, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.